Lori here from the Lori Travato Show and Found Florist Farm. So I'm going to show you how I did the techniques seen on the three pieces that I'm showing here. I used alcohol inks, I used a stamping method, I used acrylic paint, and I just wanted to show you how easy it really is. So I have to give a little credit to Thinking Outside the Box. It's a show on YouTube, and she's really great. And I saw this first, I believe, on her channel, where she took a stamping pad and some stamps and did some impressions on polymer clay. I have about 20 acres here in upper northeastern Connecticut, and I use a lot of flowers, but I also really love doing flower art with other mediums as well, such as this. So the stamping pad really works nicely because if you feel that you can't hand draw, this is a place where you will feel successful. So you press this on, press it really hard, use the acrylic press. It helps it have even pressure. If you don't press in all spots evenly, as you won't get a nice deep imprint. The other trick is making sure your clay isn't too thin. This particular clay, polymer clay that I rolled out, it was on about a number 5 on my clay setting, so about halfway. The thickness is about the size of a quarter. So I have found that it really does matter, because if you do it too thin and you press really hard, you will just smash your polymer clay, because if you have it on like a 0 or a 1, which is my lowest setting on my machine, you will have distortion. So even pressure, use some sort of you can even use a book. You don't have to go out and buy an acrylic press, but the thing that's nice about those acrylic clear blocks is you can see exactly where you're placing the stamp. So the stamp goes on the acrylic block, and then you can really, if you have to restamp, like I'm showing here, I didn't have it deeply impressioned enough, so I could place it back on my polymer clay and then get the impression deep enough. Or if I didn't have enough ink, if I misinked it, you don't have to redo your piece all over again, because you can see through the acrylic block. At first, I didn't realize what the big deal was, and now I get it. So my next step is really going to be utilizing something really neat, which I didn't talk about in the beginning, but is making sure you use these really tiny, fine-tipped paintbrushes. If you don't use a tiny paintbrush, you're going to find that it's really hard to make it look, pristine. The more finely tipped they are, it really does matter. I'm going to show you what I love to use in my application, which is eyeshadow. This eyeshadow palette I didn't go out special and buy it. You can get inexpensive eyeshadows, even, believe it or not, at the dollar store. So I didn't go out, like I said, and specially buy this, but a lot of eyeshadows have a beautiful mica powder to it. Some of them are more matte, and I'm utilizing this in the piece as I paint the leaves, the petals. I'm going to actually be doing multiple dimensions and layering of colors on this particular pendant. Now this could be turned into a pin, a hairpiece, or a necklace, and I wanted to make sure that I demonstrated different techniques that I do. This video is only about 11 minutes long total, and I do show multiple techniques, so please stay tuned. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. Also, check me out on my other channel on Facebook. I have lots of reels on Facebook, so please check them out, and you can see a lot of the neat stuff that I do. So all I'm doing here is picking out some different colors and dabbing in my my leaves. I really like utilizing the greens, the purples, the shimmery tones that just sort of give it this like iridescent shimmer. It really does look amazing once it's all done. And when you see the final product, I think that you'll think the same thing. At least I hope you do. So thank you again. This really is a dream of mine to be able to bring more creativity. I'm a teacher by trade, and I teach flower art and plant science, and I have 3 amazing greenhouses, and I teach students what makes plants tick and flowers and the art behind flower design. And this is another passion of mine, which is art in other formats, and usually it has to do with flowers in some way, shape, or form. I grow flowers on our land, and I press flowers on our land as well. And some of my pieces that you'll see, if you go over to my website, foundfloristfarm.com, or you look at my Facebook, I do have a few things on Pinterest and Instagram as well. You'll see that I sometimes use plants in my work. So we're getting just about done with this particular piece here, and it's coming out really, really well. Next step, my acrylic paint and alcohol ink. I discovered alcohol ink one day. Believe it or not, I was in one of the craft stores in the area, and I saw it in an aisle, and I was like, what is that? So I went home, watched a few videos on it, and was just amazed and thought it was the coolest thing ever. So buy yourself at the dollar store. I always say dollar store, but any store, really, plain alcohol, so you can dilute it, kind of like watercolor. People are more familiar with watercolor. Please follow all the manufacturer's instructions, of course, and so you can use it full strength. You can also use it diluted with the alcohol that you buy and put it in wells. So the alcohol ink and acrylic paint, they both work really well on polymer clay, and they bake really nice. I have not found any issues as long as you follow the manufacturer's instructions on polymer clay. This particular clay, just so you know, is Sculpey Primo. So just making sure that you're aware, that's what this is. And when I paint with it, it just really looks like it has dimension. It's got depth. I like the different patinas that, say, alcohol ink and acrylic paint give to a piece. And the fact is that the more dimension I feel that a piece can have, and the 3-dimensional kind of vibe it gives off, the better. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention with these 2 particular applications that I'm doing on top of this piece. I'm also using something that is used alongside alcohol ink, which is called mixative, and I love it. I feel like a kid because I shake it up and there's a little like ball bearing inside, and it makes this noise, and it goes chicka 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 chicka, and it is really cool because it's like a blender, so you can blend all the different alcohol inks together, and they really kind of can be made lighter, and it gives, like, how do I describe this? Like a sheen. So it really adds this really neat sheen, and when you put it on a piece, it's really easy to move around your alcohol ink and frame your piece. You do have to be careful because it does move, and if you're not on an even surface, that could be something that you have to watch out for. So I do recommend you placing a level, like for construction, like carpentry work, on your table before you get started with using things that are very fluid, like alcohol inks that you're going to put on a piece of, say, if you're going to do like a bigger project, or you're going to be doing pourable paint too. If you have an uneven table, your inks might go in the wrong direction. And so I highly recommend you can just get a level, even a tiny one, borrow it from a neighbor if you don't use one for any other reason, and make sure your table is level. I live in almost a 300-year-old house. Well, it was built in 1750, so nothing is plumb. Like this, like the ink here, it's like purpley plum. Nothing is level, and nothing is square. So I really found, on occasion when I was working, if I had something that was really fluid, it would all of a sudden start to shift and move to one side. So I learned the hard way, especially if I had a piece that was bigger, you noticed it a lot more, because you're like, oh my gosh, what just happened there? I wanted the darker colors to be over on the right and end, and then all of a sudden, if you left it and came back, you'd see that the watery bits were flowing to, say, the left, because the house shift was pitched a little bit downhill. Again, you know, we live in New England, and it was funny. I didn't realize how many people didn't realize that New England had such old houses. Well, there's the finished piece, everybody. I hope you like it, and please leave a comment, ask any questions, and give me a follow, and follow me on my other channels as well. And I'd love to hear what you'd like me to make.